Yeah, it's that coming up from the bottom. Day one, $0 type shit. The only thing I'm ducking is the graveyard. Really with the shit y'all niggas play hard. I made it to a boss, I'm selling 8 balls. I came up from nothing, I can never take a day off. The only thing I'm ducking is the graveyard. Really with the shit y'all niggas play hard. I made it to a boss, I'm selling 8 balls. I came up from nothing, I can never take a day off. Turn your baby mama crazy.
What's up, bro? Sorry, I'm in your shot.
Get
I'm
out
in
of
your
my-
shot, and I know. Rearranged things a little.
And I don't
today.
know why. I don't know why you're in my shot because we took an hour getting your shot better than my shot.
No, your shots are always.
Look at
better,
that!
bro.
Look at that!
Your
You
shots
get
are
the
always
neon
better.
sign. You got fucking whiskey. You got
Right,
fucking abs. Where'd you get the what filter on this camera gave you abs?
I ain't got no abs.
I promise everyone I have abs. Eli takes them off of me
Right.
and he forces me to wear these Actually, they are starting to come in. I'm starting to get a little leaned out.
right, man.
Well, I
That's
was, and then I started like eating. What do you call that diet? Shit.
Yeah, that diet. Yeah, yeah, it's a great
Yeah.
diet.
Yeah, we were getting super slammed. There's no excuses. I'm just telling the story.
Sure.
Slam with deals, slam with business growth. We were negotiating that deal for my house, getting that going. You had just gotten done moving as well. And I was feeling, you know what, man, like carbs are deceiving. Because most people, like they'll feel a certain, like I feel good on carbs.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Specifically, the good carbs.
Okay.
For example, ice cream.
Okay. Yeah.
So I guess more specifically, carbs mixed with sugar
And fat. Yep.
and fat.
Yep. Hell yeah.
Fat's in the studio today.
We do have fat.
Speaking of fat,
You guys remember fat?
little flashback.
Yep.
Yeah, and like, man, and you know what took me off is like I don't mind having a little bit of sweets at night. Like, I'll have some stuff with cash, and I'm just a sweet tooth. So cool, I have it. But you know what gets me is I stopped intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
So like having the shit diet, I would get like a meal replacement shake in after the gym. And then I'm just eating all day. Like the way your body responds to all day eating versus fasting, and it's shit. Like, anyway.
It's actually good though, because it does help kind of break that cycle of like, all right,
No,
not
well-
eating like shit all the time.
Well, right. But it leads me to, I get my blood work done with my doctor. I stay on top of my shit. I'm a high-speed machine, Eli.
Yeah,
So I
gotta
get my
be.
blood work done and getting everything checked, and my cholesterol was a little high,
Yep.
and I freaked out.
Same.
You know, like, yeah, but you didn't freak out. I freaked out.
Yep.
And a little high, as in the prescription my doctor gave me for my high cholesterol was, just take some omegas. And what's your diet like? And I go, you don't want to know. What's your cardio like? What's cardio?
Yep.
That's where I was at. Got a
Yep.
good laugh. Whatever. Get back on it. But here's where, like, good friend. Let me leave you with this. We're gonna get to the podcast today. Here's what a good friend does. I call Eli. I go, hey, dude, my I was getting my blood work done. Hey, blood pressure, blood color, everything looks good, and hemoglobin was a little high, so I got some blood drained. But hey, man, like my cholesterol was a little high. And like, dude, like, am I dying? Should I be freaking out? Like, am I fucking diabetic? And you're like, nah, man, like mine was the same way, and it's probably just this. I'm like, yeah, but all right, but like, I'm like overanalyzing it, a little nervous. And then Eli goes, hey, man, I just find it super interesting that like you are so worried about this, but you drive everywhere without your seatbelt.
Yeah. Dude, for real. For real. Will will drive in his truck with the fucking dong thing, the seatbelt dinger going off for 10 fucking minutes.
My dong is not going off in my
before
truck.
before the damn thing shuts off.
First of all, it's a competition against computers and machines. I want to outlive it. But here's what I told Eli. I go, Eli, ironically, the one time I've been in a car accident was not my fault. Guy tries to bang a left on a red light. So I hit him head on during my green light going straight. And the one time I was in a car accident, I was wearing my seatbelt. So it's almost like I was wearing a seatbelt, like that was encouraging the universe to throw a car accident at me.
Wasn't there another time though that someone else was driving and they took a hard turn and you literally flew out of the car because you weren't wearing your seatbelt?
That was a 1967 Chevy Nova.
Sounds great.
And it wasn't that I didn't have my seatbelt on. The fucking seats weren't even bolted into the fucking floor, bro. And I was 17. Back to the
my
story.
God.
Listen, dude, every time I don't wear a seatbelt and I'm in control of the vehicle, it's me telling the universe, I got this.
There you go.
And then guess what? I got it.
There you go.
I'm full of shit. So I started putting so now I'm back to intermittent fasting. getting cardio back in, and it is good. But this is why it's good to go get your blood work done and just manage stuff, even in your business. Like you and I look at analytics for our YouTube channel and everything else, and it's good because it keeps you from coming off the rails. So slightly high, you adjust. Got back into my cardio.
Yep.
Shout out to fucking Tosh. He gifted me a rower.
Yep.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, hell yeah.
You know when someone gives you like
the gift that keeps on giving. Bro.
Hey man, here's a rower.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Don't ever let me see you fat again, or I know you're not using the rower, right? So I've got that, but it was good, man, to get back, just dialed back in with intermittent fasting, checking the diet, and dude, like even in the past couple of days, less inflamed, more energy.
Good.
Nah, it's kind of like when you're dehydrated. Like you don't know how important water is until you're dehydrated. You don't know like what hydrating. Like, I didn't realize how I wasn't feeling that good until I felt better from being less inflamed and checking a couple things. It's like, oh man, like I do feel a lot better, but I didn't realize I was feeling that bad. It creeps up on you, doesn't it?
Yeah. It does, man. Yeah. Just tracking, man. We're mid-30s now. It's important to get that shit going.
My fucking phone's going off.
We do.
I'm sorry about that. Today's podcast.
Yeah, what do we got?
Well, you tell me. It's your decision today.
Yeah,
I chose to change the studio up. These chairs are just so comfortable.
They are.
So we're rocking these chairs.
Yeah, let us know how you like our
don't give a
I got all
fuck.
this shit on my lap. It does not look
You're
the best.
fine. It looks good.
Right. I need it like right here, like a little arm control pad.
Hell
I can
yeah.
do.
Hell yeah.
That's some high speed shit right there.
What's our topic today, bro? What do you think?
Personal branding for realtors. This kind for us and
For realtors or for anyone?
For anyone, but
realtors?
a lot of agents and realtors listen to this. That is kind of our thesis, I guess, to a lot of what we do. And I'm just now starting to see, in addition to us, man, one or two guys out there in the real estate game that I think kind of get it, and I'm not just talking YouTube, right? That's business to consumer.
Ryan Serhant, you talking about him?
Another Ryan Pineda. I like him. If you don't follow him on Instagram,
Never heard of Ryan Pineda.
He's a good follow.
Ryan Serhant's got it going on. I mean, he's got it.
He is. If I had to say anything about his man, he doesn't get that personal with it, and when we're talking to agents where it's like, hey, I got my cell phone, I can get a GoPro or maybe a little camera or something that's easy to use. Man, he's got just his whole production crew, and the stuff he does is extremely, extremely produced.
Okay.
I think that there's a lot to do with, man, just the type of content that's going out and just some fundamentals around personal branding that I think for a regular real estate agent who's not a Serhant yet can get started on doing.
So let's talk about it.
Yep.
What do you mean? So when you talk about personal branding, like we're realtors, could be better where, like social media or where?
Man, so I guess like dialing it back a little bit, like one of the things that I like that you help when we're talking to agents or coaching agents or anyone for that matter is you're real good at dissecting what somebody's strengths are, what their unique value add is. And it may not be real estate related. It may be a personality trait. It may be a thing that they're just naturally good at, but you're real good through a 10-minute conversation of kind of exposing someone's value add.
So that's where I'm glad you said that, because that's where we haven't prepped. We clearly have not prepped for this podcast. Shit's falling over, starting over.
I know,
phones
I know.
fucking ringing, right? We clearly have not planned this one.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you said that, because when we talk about brand, people think like, all right, cool, I got to have my logo. My logo can only be so many colors, and it's got to be the same Pantone or the font on the brand is you. We can get into the other stuff as far as like branding, because brand and branding are not the same thing, in my opinion. Brand is you. Branding is, hey, I'm only using specific Pantones for
That's
my
like
logo.
Marketing. Yeah, it's
I'm
like
only using
marketing and
like
branding.
our YouTube channel. We have the same fonts for our graphics pop up, and it's the same mood, and like that's like branding. But a lot of people confuse brand and branding. Brand is, what's your unique skill set, and how do you articulate, and how do you make people feel?
And a lot of people have a hard time with that.
Well, no shit, and I'll tell you why. Because they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Not with brand, it's with their craft. So you have a lot of people that we see out there that are trying to create brand and scale through social media, through YouTube, and putting themselves out there, but they don't actually know what they're doing. So you're making things up to say, or you're trying to create different topics of discussion, or you're just regurgitating someone else. Like, man, I cannot stand that. And I watch a lot of shit, and I watch it for business reasons through a lens, man. I don't watch it just to mindlessly watch stuff, unless I'm on the pooper, I guess. But you'll see people regurgitating a lot of other people, or even worse, and I'm going to go out on a limb here, I don't know who you're regurgitating, but I can tell you're regurgitating.
Yeah.
Makes sense?
It's like the people that go into a gym and they have no clue what to do. They don't have a program, so they're literally just looking around. Or like, I'll hit this machine, I guess. I'll hit that machine, I guess.
Like Michael Jordan, he on the you probably still haven't watched it, but on the Last Dance miniseries,
I did watch it. Yeah,
all of it.
Yeah. Nah, most of it.
Okay. That was so loaded. You shouldn't have said shit.
I know.
But he talks about, like when he got his sponsorship from Nike, and then they were making the Jordan 1s, and it started evolving.
Yep.
And it was like Air Jordan, and they talk about where they came up with the name, because Nike Airs were just coming out in like the tennis world. And Nike was more of a tennis brand, but they were getting this elite basketball player, and it's Michael Jordan, and he lives in the air, and we're making Nike Airs, like Air Jordan. It was great. And I think his agent like came up with it or something like that and pitched it to Nike, but it was like, yeah, Air Jordan, but like the dude was known for jumping in the air and staying up there all day. And the other comment that he made was that his game did his talking. And he's like, man, if I average 2 or 6 points a game, none of this is even possible. Like, like influencing a culture and stuff. But it was his swagger on the court. Like he was an assassin. If he had to get in your, like, I felt like he didn't start it, but if you started something with him or if you were talking, he would get in your face and he would fucking bring it. If you were out of position on the court, like, he would give it to his own players. And like everything about what Michael Jordan was, he was the best. He was, the most athletic looking, the elite, like even the Magic Johnsons of the world were like, yep, this is the guy. All of that bled into his brand, because when you were wearing Air Jordans, why were you wearing those?
You want to be like Mike.
You want to be like Mike.
Yep.
And whoever put them on, right? Like we'd all go out to our 6-7 foot hoops so we could actually feel like we were jumping like Mike. And you were emulating Mike's shot. Same thing with like Kobe, right? Like Kobe, and you shoot your 3-year. I remember like in baseball, everyone tried to emulate Ken Griffey Jr.'s swing. Or Barry Bonds swinging. Like, man, like it's so important that I'm using athletics. I think a lot of people can relate to it. Even if you didn't play sports, I think you can just resonate with it that every time someone put on Michael Jordan's shoes, no one was like, whose shoes are these?
Right.
Like, oh, dude, you got the new Jays. What?
Right.
What are the new Jays?
Yep.
Oh, some dude named Jay?
Yeah.
These are his shoes? Like, oh, cool. Like, no. Everybody knew what shoe you were putting on, and everybody wanted to level up their game to play like Mike. But every night, like that dude showed up in the entire miniseries, and if you were old enough to watch Michael Jordan play, he was that every fucking night, bro.
Yeah.
And then that came into, he started making, and then he wears jersey, right? But then he started making clothes. He started making everything else, and he was wearing his stuff while he was still playing ball. And then he bled into, dude, he sponsors like motocross bikes now, like muscle bikes, crotch rockets, NASCAR shit, like
skateboarding shit,
Formula One car, like because now it's like, hey, like what's his name? I don't know if you got Fat might know him. It's one of the Formula One race car drivers.
Okay.
Lewis Hamilton. Black guy, stud.
That's like
I don't know if he watches like Netflix. Maybe watch that series. It's a really cool. Man, I'm fascinated with Formula One drivers because
it's intense, bro.
But it's the dichotomy of how intense it is with how poised they have to be in the car and how they communicate on the radio with their team. It's like, it's really cool. We'll get into that later. But the bottom line is now it's like everybody is getting sponsored by him or wearing him because it's like, hey, even though you're a race car driver, it's like, I want to be the Michael Jordan of, and how many times have you heard that on TV? Hey, who's the Michael Jordan of football?
Yep.
Tom Brady. Who's the Michael Jordan of this? Who's the Michael Jordan of that? And it's like, that's brand.
Yep.
Where do you think that came from? It came from his behavior, his preparedness, his ability, his performance, his tenacity. So let's dial this back into layman's terms, is like, hey, everything you do is what your brand is. So your brand is shit if you cut corners, if you don't know what you're talking about, if you don't put the time in, if you aren't putting people first, if you aren't paying attention to, what consumers are looking for. You're just trying to look at what other competitors are doing, so you try to copy them. Like, okay, put that in basketball. You're not going to be a very good basketball player. You're cutting corners. Like, you're showing up to practice late, or, oh, hey, if I just lift, it's like, oh, I'll just watch film faster. Or like, oh, I'll just watch, I'm more of an offensive guy. I'll just watch offensive stuff. And you don't watch the other side of the ball. Like, and you start cutting corners, man, like, what do you expect your brand to be? You're going to be the basketball player nobody knows about. You definitely don't have a fucking shoe deal.
Well, and here's the tricky part to that too, because you can still be all of those amazing things you just said, but if you're not getting it out in front of people, if you don't have a game to play, if you're not on the court, yeah, exactly.
That's marketing and branding.
Yes,
we can talk about as well. But I just want to dial it back down a little bit with brand, because I just want to make it super clear to people. Because a lot of the questions that we get is like, hey, how you guys on your YouTube? Hey, what camera do you use? And it's like, let me give you the analogy. Just because you put Michael Jordan's shoe on does not mean you're going to play like Mike.
Exactly.
I'll tell you, every fucking camera we use, you can go copy every fucking title we have. For whatever reason, like, your shit's not working, man. It's because, like, now there are some guys that would put Kobe or put Jordans on as a kid. Allen Iverson, Kobe Bryant, a lot of guys, LeBron James, and they were embracing that mentality, and they were putting in the work, maybe even more work than they thought that dude put in, and it put him, into a different stratosphere. Not better than Mike, but put him into a different level in life. But I just, man, and I'm probably beating this horse, but
you got to be good.
If you can't fundamentally, if you haven't disciplined yourself, and if you haven't hyper focused on being a professional at your craft or your subject matter expertise and putting people first and understanding what consumers are demanding and what they're looking for, what they're asking for, if you haven't focused on the game, then branding making a shoe and putting it in front of everybody, it won't fucking matter, because you as a product suck.
So how do you feel for a new agent who's new to the game? Should they not put out any content? Should they not start a brand or start branding themselves until they reach a certain level of professionalism? Or what do you think there?
I don't know. I think, well, what did Mike do early on?
I don't know.
I know you don't know, because you didn't watch the whole thing. He just got to work.
Okay.
And I don't think the work ever stops, but I think hey, I don't want to wait to put out content, I'm new. You just have to document what you're doing.
Okay. Yep.
You got to document, hey, hey, I've gone to this conference, I've learned this, and how does this apply to consumers? It's just more documenting. Not that we create a ton of shit and we don't document. We create a lot on our YouTube channel because we understand what consumers are looking for. I just think, like, when you're new, the faking it till you make it, whatever bullshit you want to call it, that's not a thing anymore. The internet made everything too transparent, right? So I feel like, and I just don't think it's especially for consumers, like, I just don't think you're being honest. If you're trying to create or embellish, it's not a good look, versus just document what you're doing and where you're going and what's working and what's not working and what you're learning. And a couple people might be reluctant to work with you because you're newer. But in the long run, like, people are going to watch your growth and respect for what you're doing. And not everybody that you get as a client is on your social media.
Right.
So yeah, some people on social might see that you're new, but they're going to respect you for the work you're putting in, and they're going to see that power band of growth that you have the next couple of years. So it's more about focusing on the bigger picture of your career, not trying to, like, fake the funk and be bigger than you are and speak to things you can't speak to because you need a deal right now.
And it gives you reps. Like, that's high school basketball, right?
Yep.
Like, you're out there. Yeah, you're not perfect. You're going to fuck up. Yeah, you're not on ESPN or whatever, but you're out there and you're getting after it and you're documenting. And so,
it doesn't take long to get super proficient at the basics, man, like within real estate.
True.
Like, if you've got some good mentors and good people around you and you're putting the time in, your first year can be an extraordinary learning curve for you to just be super proficient at the basic fundamentals of executing contracts, communicating the process to buyers or sellers, navigating negotiations from the other side of the table when you're working with, other realtors that are adjacent from you. And those things, you'll start figuring out, like, what topics of discussion are, and then you'll start to figure out what you should be speaking about content wise towards social and toward other platforms.
Yeah. Man, touching on the fake it till you make it thing. I know it's kind of off topic from our topic today, but man, there's a lot to that. And I've heard this phrase before. You've heard it, but I heard Patrick Bet-David dive into it the other day on one of his things, and it was and this, I think, is, man, just such a good blend of what you should be doing, but what people think you should be doing. And that's the whole act as if. So if you are new to the industry and you're not this, agent that's out there crushing it, you don't have this big personal brand, you should be asking yourself, hey, what does an agent like this, what does their day look like? What does their content look like? What do their daily actions and habits look like? And then starting to act as if You are that by
So that, yeah, and I would venture to say that's the real intention of fake it till you make it, versus pretending like you're like a top producing realtor.
Yeah.
You know, but I would say like, and I like Bet David. I think he's a good dude. I think we'll have him on one of these days. Acting as if for me is more alter. Like, have you read the book Alter Ego? You should read the book The Alter Ego. Goes into like how the guy adopted like his characteristics from his grandpa when he would go into business meetings, or how, you know, Beyonce created Sasha Fierce because Beyonce is this super reserved church girl growing up, and now she's in this fucking girl band, and then eventually on her own, and it's like she's in risque shit, and she's got to be this confident person on stage and shaking your ass and singing, and it's like Beyonce ain't that.
Yeah.
But Sasha Fierce is, and like we can all get into like whatever devil shit you think she's doing. That's for another day. The bottom line is it's the same thing as like when Ray Lewis emulates Superman on the football field, right? Like Superman is prepared and he's done his homework and he's fearless and he's, you know, and it's like he's adopting that mentality. And then he's out there on the field and it's like Ray's not pretending to be Superman. He's just embodying those characteristics.
Yeah.
And he's attacking the game of football.
Yeah.
Like
As
Superman
if he
would.
is Superman. Yeah, yeah.
So when you talk about like, man, in 5 years, I want to be a top producer. I want, you know, and it's like, close your eyes and like, what does this guy look like, man? Like, is he somewhat chunky because he's been fucking working all the time? Or like, oh man, if he's a top producer, like, no, I see myself as a top producer. Like I have no chinks in my armor, man. Like I'm physically fit and I've got a good smile and, you know, I comb my hair and I'm wearing a suit or I'm wearing this. And do I have tattoos? Do I not have tattoos? What does this guy look like? What does he behave like? You know, kind of like when Matthew McConaughey talks about he looks up to 10-year him.
Yeah.
You know, he's like, I don't really have any idols, but he's like, I look up to me 10 years from now.
Yep.
So when Bet David's talking about embodying certain characteristics, it's like before you and I go into a listing presentation, it's like, okay, what does a top producer look like when he goes into a listing presentation? Okay, he looks like he's well dressed, he's clean, he's brushed his teeth,
He's confident.
okay, so this is where we got to go a layer deeper though. Okay, he's confident, he's well spoken. Okay, pause. How is he confident? Well, because he knows what he's doing. How does he know what he's doing? Because he's done his fucking homework. How is he well spoken? Well, because he's spoken about this stuff a lot. Okay, but how do I speak well to something I haven't done a lot? Go fucking role play. Go listen to other people's listing or buyer presentations. Go seek that mentorship and get the reps. Go when you're at the gym and someone asks you how your day is going, talk about your day, talk about the market without being salesy. I would talk to my family. I still fucking do about real estate and different shit where I'm just saying things over and over and over in conjunction with the homework and the study time, because it's like, okay, well, that's how that guy's confident in this meeting. Okay, so before Elon and I go to this listing presentation, next week or in 2 days, I've got to get some homework done on this home. And I've got to, hey, what other homework do I need? Well, I need to be making sure I'm asking a lot of questions to these sellers because I don't know if top dollar matters. I don't know if timing matters. Like, I don't know what's important to them. So I need to make sure I'm asking questions in addition to just talking, because I don't want to be a know-it-all. I just want to be confident. I don't want to, and you start figuring that out and you're like, oh, this guy, that's me 5 years from now. Well, he's confident because he does his fucking homework and he's been doing that and then some for 5 years. And he listens to clients. So he's prepared on that. Okay. So that's how he gets, okay. How does he pace himself so he's not talking too fast in these meetings and becoming a know-it-all? He asks questions and it slows the pace down of the conversation, which allows him to be more composed. And you start seeing all the work you need to put in on a daily basis to then be this person that's well-spoken and confident and composed and comes off like a listener, right? Like so you don't just imagine the guy like, oh yeah, cool, I'm going to go put on a suit. Like, okay, go put on a fucking suit. But it's everything else that's going to give this guy his demeanor, the atmospherics of sitting down with that guy, the command presence that guy is going to have comes from his body of work, not from the suit. The suit will pay off because he's comfortable in it. Or you could dress in all black like me, and this suits me very well. Pun intended. Because this is me, but I've done my homework, and I'm composed, and I know how to listen, and I understand where the trends are. And I know when someone's talking, what are they telling me? And what are they telling me? As in, like, they could tell you that they want the highest price, but oh, what you're telling me is you need to take so much away from this home sale because you got something else to pay for.
Right.
So is it highest price, or could we also talk about saving money? Because it's not the highest price point that you need. It's taking money home. Right? Like if you're paying out 6-7% and the person that's buying your house is fucking you on inspections and you're paying out a lot, or you're paying some relocation company to do something for you, you think you need this highest price point to take money home. No. What if we cut the fat on some of this process and we get super competitive with your price point, but you end up taking more home, even though we sold it for less?
Yep.
It's understanding like those variables and presenting them to a client that makes them feel like you're well-versed and there's different options for them to attack this process, but you don't get there without doing the fucking work.
Yeah.
So, right.
Now,
So
now
it's
you're
like,
at this point where you're not worrying about your clothes. You're not worrying about what you're saying or how you're appearing. You're able to think about those things.
the guidelines, man, if you wear a suit, it better be tailored.
Yep.
And if you're not wearing a suit, your shit better not be wrinkled and you better fucking smell good, right? Don't have the wrinkled shirt on, whether it's a collared shirt or whatever. Like, look like you're intentional with what you're wearing because that's you. But so if you're new, yes, getting the reps in, but you could also like, well, but Will, I want to create content while I'm getting the reps in. So create content on all the reps that you're getting in, because when you're on social, are people going to know you're new? Yes. But that's not where every deal comes from in this world, okay? So, but you're using that. But while you're speaking to your social media and you're documenting what you're going through and you're speaking to everything, day in and day out, you're getting better at speaking on your craft. And then when people are commenting or have questions, you can think about them, you can research them, you can go back and answer those questions in the comments, and you're using it as a platform literally for preparedness over time.
Yep. And then, I think the other thing too, let's pretend these people are, man, maybe you're a team leader who's crushing and you're having a lot of success, but you're struggling with the whole, man, I just don't know what to say on content. What I like doing there, and this is where I think, I had been like, because your content has been great and you've been super consistent with it. I'm just now getting to a point to where
you're better than me right now, bro.
No, I'm just now getting to a point to where I'm like just more conscious of it. And I'm like, okay, actively trying to do this. But even the whole like act as if thing, I started looking at the guys that I like, that I follow, that I find bringing value to me every day. And I'm like, okay, what are they doing? Man, they're fucking cranking out content. They're doing a podcast. They're chopping it up. And then they've got teams and people that put all this shit together for them.
Right. And the question of like, hey, well, what is content? Everything
you're doing.
Because whether you're brand new or whether you're at our level or you're higher than our level, if you're documenting and expressing everything you're doing at each level, then you're going to continue to level up with your content.
Yeah.
And at some point, your content that you're documenting and speaking to is a lesson plan for someone else. Like what you and I are talking to right now, we're just documenting what's worked.
Right.
And it's very easy to speak to. And someone listening to this might go, oh, fuck, thank you. Like, man, that makes so much sense. Now I know, okay, what do I go out? I'm a new agent. Like, how do I document? Everything. Because you're not trying to create content. You're just documenting what content already is. Right? So like super, super easy example.
Yeah.
You have a inspection coming up, right? And you're going through inspection with the client. Okay. That's content. Okay. Like, okay, well, how are we going to figure out inspection objection with the clients, and what are they worried about? What are they not worried about? When you're done with that, talking about how that went, what went well, what did not go well, how do we overcome it? How do we get through the inspection process and continuing down the course of closing on this home? How did it go? What were the client's concerns? What were their questions? How do we overcome them? How do we mitigate any situations where it was a win for the sellers and winner for the buyers? You're already doing that stuff. So instead of trying to figure out like, oh, I got to go create content. Where am I going to go shoot today? What am I going to talk about? Like, it's pausing and realizing you can just document where there's already content. But people, when they think of podcasts, when they think of social media for their business, they think they have to go create. You just need to pause and realize what the content already is. Am I making sense?
100%. Yeah. Man, I was talking to an agent the other day and I said, hey, Sunday night, you're planning your week. Look at your calendar. See what appointments you have coming up. See what clients you're going out with, what inspections you have. Specifically said that. And I said, you need to build, first of all, like the awareness around everything. Hey, I need to start paying attention to what could be a great content opportunity.
And it lets people get to know, like, and trust you. Because the more you're on social and speaking and explaining things, no one cares about your fucking closing photo. Okay. And if we had closing photos, Well, dude, there wouldn't be a day without a closing. I'd be a real asshole on social media, bro, because every day it'd be fucking closing photos and look at me, look at me, look at me. Yep. Versus if we're speaking toward realtors, it's got to be a value add. And if we're speaking toward consumers and we're talking about inspections or appraisals or what the market looks like right now, it's got to be something that's of a value add. And I'm not saying don't do your closing photos. If you want to, and every client you've ever had is like amazing and you're so happy for them, fuck you. I don't believe you. Okay, I don't fucking believe you. What I think you should be speaking about on that closing photo in your paragraph of how amazing they are and it was such a pleasure to work with them. Okay, maybe. And I love our clients. Let's not get fucking weird. However, what's more intriguing is the story behind that client.
Yeah.
Right? Where did they come from? What are they doing? How did you guys achieve getting under contract? And what did your clients do so great in conjunction with you as a team to get this done? I want to hear that shit.
Yeah.
Because then that lets me know you as a realtor, you're in it for the client. You're not in it for the look at me, I'm out of closing. Look at me, I'm out of closing. Oh, my clients are so amazing. I'm so blessed and excited for them. Shut the fuck up, dude.
Yeah.
No, you're not. And if you are, okay, if you are, you would be telling their story on what makes them so amazing.
Yeah.
And then when people see that, they're going to read, right, the superficial, what's so great about your clients. But more importantly, what are you telling them? So when someone's reading that on social media, what are you telling them? You're telling them a story. Okay, so what are you telling them? And what are you telling them? What are you telling them? You're telling them a story, but what are you telling them? Here's how committed and interested and dedicated to my clients. Because their story and how they played a role as a team to accomplish this is more important and more top of mind than me making sure I get my fucking photo with the huge key that says whatever title company you're at. Like, fuck, man. Okay? So it's like, for me, you're either full of shit, or if you really are that impressed, like, man, tell their story. And even if people don't, like, not everybody wants a closing photo on social. Who says you need a photo of them? You can put a photo of the house. You can click on Facebook Live and you can just talk. Hey, listen, I've got some great clients. You know, they don't want me showing their home or their faces on social, but listen, they are amazing people. And, you know, and hey, you know, all of my clients are amazing, whatever you got to say. But like, hey, you know, specific to this deal, they were moving from out of state and we were contingent on a deal. And so I was working with their listing agent over here on the buy side, and then et cetera, whatever went super well. Speak to that. That's the content, not the photo at closing. The content is in the story. And if you're telling the story, you're documenting what's going on. Right. Am I making sense?
It's such a good tip, man, because I think the reason you see so many closing photos is because it's important to show consumers, hey, I can get a deal done. I'm doing business.
Arguably.
Yes, I'm doing business. Arguably. Yeah. Tell people you know how to get the fucking job done. Hey, I get people to closing. I think that's what they do.
I only show shit when I get pissed off at realtors, local realtors that post their like closing photos. Every once in a while I'll get a hair in my ass and I'll go, Eli, can you just send me what we've had the last week?
Fucking, 30 of them.
It's like, hey, here's 16 million in volume for 4 days. Like, and then that's, you know what, I'm not saying that's the right way, but I'm also not trying to, I'm just like,
but I think people get stuck in that phase of they just don't know what to fucking post or say or do, and they're like, hey, this is an event. I see other agents do it, so I'm gonna post this.
Okay, spot on. Other agents do it, so this is what I do. How about this? Let me challenge you. Take sales out of this, the word sales, and let's just replace it with the word relationships. How would you treat your client if you thought them a relationship? How do you treat your new boyfriend? How do you treat your new girlfriend?
Yeah,
how do you treat your new best friend?
Doing. Yeah.
Oh my God, this is what he's done in his life and whatever, right? And and hey, they're such a huge piece to me. I have to, you know, like thank them for everything. And like your mom's reading this, like fuck you.
Yeah.
You're fucking 31 and you're thanking this person for the last 6 weeks for your life and like whatever. Okay, I'm right, like I'm being funny, but you know, if you start seeing these things as relationships and it's like, hey, you'll expose, hey, their story and the story. So their story is their background, where they're coming from, why they're choosing to be home buyers right now, and why they're moving to Colorado or wherever you're at. That's their story. The story is once you guys link up and begin this process together, that's now the story of accomplishing this deal.
Right.
And that is way more powerful to a consumer. And it also shows your dedication and commitment and mindfulness of what fucking matters. And here's the thing. Like when I was a cop, per law, you don't have to write every detail into your report. Okay? Per law. But if you don't have enough in there and you're in a courtroom as a witness, as a police officer, and the public defender keeps referencing your report, hey, you said this, but it's not in your report. Oh, well, not everything has to be in my report. You can only say that. Hey, it doesn't have to be in my report. I can also reflect on it, you know. You can only say that so many times before the public defender or just a defense attorney goes, so officer, so how many things are just not in your report? How well did you sit down and actually write this?
Right.
You know, like, so it's like, yeah, it's not required by law to have it in there. And most officers, bro, they're telling the truth.
Yeah.
They just sucked at writing their report, right? And then it looks bad. Same thing. Most realtors care. Mm-hmm. They just suck at exposing everything that they're doing during this process that shows they care by telling the freaking story, man. All you're doing is just showing the closing photo.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, and I don't think it's because you're self-centered. I don't think it's because you don't care and you're not putting your clients first and you're just in it for you and for your stupid closing photo. I don't think that at all. I think most of them are just like us, trying their best, working hard, dedicated to their clients, up late at night, taking some of their commission, throwing it towards something to fix because it's not terribly expensive and buyers and sellers couldn't agree. So you do the radon for them and you keep the damn thing moving and you're in it. You're just not telling the damn story.
Yeah. Man, that's so critical that people hear that because you may think it's not valuable. It fucking is. Like your day-to-day of what you're going through and the struggles that you're going through, whether you're a new agent or an experienced agent, telling that story is by far the most important thing.
And if you can get good at telling the story and understanding where the value add is, then it's like, okay, well, but like as I get bigger, what do I do? You're always telling the story. Now you and I, less transactional, more influential toward agents that are within our network now. And if you're an agent out there and you want to team up with Will and Eli, please, if you're listening to this and you've made it this far, I bet you're a fucking stud and you're ready and you're putting your time into this podcast to get better. Fucking hit us up. I would love to chat with you. So, but for us, it's still like, man, whether I'm speaking at in Power Field with Ben Newman or on this podcast, whatever it may be, man, like I especially in private settings, I'm telling a lot of stories and giving a lot of examples of where people have done that. And then when I am teaching realtors, I'm giving them my stories. It's not just a lesson plan like, hey, don't do this, do that. I give them the why. Hey, man, don't do this, do that. Here's why. And then I'll give an example of, and here's why, because, hey, man, so for example, when Eli and I were doing this is kind of how some things unfolded. This is why it's important, right? So like an example. Eli and I were going under contract on a house for some first-time home buyers. They had a little bit of money, but not much. And they had put central air on the listing. So cool. So we're going through this house. We see it. They love it. First-time home buyers. Hey, this is good for us. And we don't see the central air, but but it's in the marketing material, the central air. So, hey, maybe it's turned off. It was a fix and flip. So, hey, maybe it's just turned off. Interesting. We'll figure it out. And
maybe they're selling it.
And hey, if they're going to market this thing as central air, I guess it's on them. So we write the contract. When we write the contract for the purchase, we, when you link it to the MLS with your contract, it'll upload whatever they mark. They have it'll transfer it over. Some things not. So we chalk up the contract, submit it, we get under contract, and then come inspection time. And the house was just shit foundationally, so we ended up not buying it. But here's what we were prepared to do. They did not have central air, and we mentioned that to them. It's like, oh, hey, that must be a typo. And we're like, hey, you can't have typos. Now it's on you. So we call a managing broker, and I'm speaking to him, and he goes, hey, Will, I completely understand what you're saying within the marketing material, and that's an error. And did they falsely market it? Yep. But okay, go to the contract. What's written in the contract under inclusions? Central air was not in the contract. What's official? Some Facebook shit?
Nope.
Or the contract? Yep. And it's like, ooh. Now, we were like, all right, well, we're not going to let our clients not have central air because this is our fault here. We could have been more diligent, not just relying on the marketing material, thinking that that's a catch-all there. So we were spending $4,000 on an AC for them. Foundation ended up being super bad with a couple of other things, and the sewer was terrible on it. So we ended up not doing it, but it was like a lesson learned of like, hey, it's not the marketing material, no matter how wrong that is. The only thing that's legally official is a contract. So, Will, if this is what you guys want to take because you see the marketing, but you don't see the central air in the home, then when you chalk up that offer, you better include central air because now that is legally binding.
Yep.
And it's like, okay. So when we're talking with newer agents and they're going over like the contract process, like there's just a lot of important pieces behind inclusions and exclusions. And it's not just seller's personal property. You're like, hey, are these fancy drapes coming with the home? There's other things that you might miss that can end up costing you money if you're just not poised. And a lot of these teaching points come from experience and messing something up. And by the way, the biggest lesson in all of this, you and I were going to buy a fucking air conditioner. Okay.
Yeah,
like
of course.
Doing the right thing is always the right thing. If it's your flaw, or whether you want to blame it on someone's marketing or not, if you didn't catch it and it wasn't applied in the contract, then hey man, like you've got to cowboy up and bang that out for them. But so now when I talk about stories, like it's for social media and documenting what you're doing and telling your story alongside of your clients and their story, plus the story of you guys accomplishing something that's extraordinary. If you're buying homes right now in this market, these are wins. These, if you're selling your home in this market right now and you do it the right way, it's a win. If you're buying them, man, this is a big win in these markets. You should be proud. But why aren't we telling the story? And when we talk about branding, okay, what does the UFC do? What does what do the Olympics do? They're telling someone's story, man. Like when you're watching Masvidal and fucking
that's the best part, man.
Homeboy, right? It's like he comes from the slums, right? Like
that's
I'm being
the best
funny.
Part.
But the bottom line is like you get super hooked because it's like they're telling a story. Michael Jordan still telling stories.
Yep.
The Last Dance, it's an 8 or 10 series thing on the story, bro.
Right.
Like so when you think about brand is you. I'll leave you with this and I'll let you end this podcast. Brand is you. You need to be as proficient and prepared and accessible and caring and as thoughtful as possible. Because brand is you. That means you're the product. Okay. Like homes are not the product. Okay. People are going to buy homes whether it's with you or not. Okay. So that's a product. It's not the product. The product is you. Okay, so whether you're buying a mongoose or a Huffy, who bought mongoose back in the day? Dude, we begged our fucking moms to buy mongoose. Why?
Shit.
Because mongoose was sitting there running their mouth? No, because mongoose was a quality product until they sold their shit to fucking Walmart, okay? Brand.
Yeah.
Quality.
Yep.
Branding is your ability to get on social media or YouTube or in your sphere at live events and tell the story, tell a story, tell your story, and how you guys are accomplishing all of these things, right? And then the atmosphere as far as like your thumbnail and your font and things like that, all of those things matter. And we get further and we could do a podcast on branding, but branding starts with storytelling.
Yeah, yeah. Now, one extra layer we need to throw on top of all this, and we'll kind of outro from this, but that is consistency. And without a...
Can I pause you?
Sure.
Cool. Because consistency should already be established. Because if you as the product were good, are you being consistent? Because how are you going to be prepared and professional at your craft? Hey, realtors, if you're not,
well, you can be consistent in some areas and completely shit in other areas.
Okay, well then I don't think you're professional, and I don't think you're a good brand. I think you develop those skill sets while you're developing your process as a realtor. And before you get to branding, if you're on social media, which is your entry level, your Instagram and your Facebook, and if you're consistently on there, hey, I'm on there once a week, I'm on there twice a week, or I'm going to do one live per week, but I'm going to be doing 2 different posts on these things per week. Cool. Yep. You're practicing your consistency there. Yep. So before you hit the stage or YouTube, or before you become this big person in your community, you should be establishing.
You absolutely should be.
Right.
Yeah, you absolutely should be. Right. And then, but if you've got like, let's say again, you've got some team leaders out there, business is you're fucking slammed, and it's like throwing another thing on the plate. Here's the thing, guys, you have to establish some sort of system, some sort of process, whether it's time blocking, whatever that looks like.
Correct.
I mean, I've got 2 places on my calendar, like again, Sunday night and then again, Wednesday, where it's like, I'm looking at our week and I'm like, okay, where do I need to be? It's much more top of mind with you. I need to like schedule a time to make it top of mind, to look throughout the week.
Mine is I just call Eli at 9 o'clock at night, knowing what he's doing, and they go, hey, bro, what are we doing tomorrow?
Well, and so part of that, it might be time blocking, but guys, like Will and I, I'm being like satirical with this, but also no.
What's that word mean?
I don't even think it's the right word, like sarcastic.
Okay.
I'm saying this for the sake of saying it. But we will miss a closing before we miss doing our content. We'll miss some really important shit because our content is that much more important.
Like when I would say, hey, my wife could be having a baby and I'm not there if we have content to make. Now, what I will say is, well, your wife would kill you. Well, no shit. But guess what? We just make sure we have all of our things done so we don't end up missing that. But what we're trying to say is that's the level of importance that we have to have it. And if it's not quality, we won't post it.
Yes, that's true.
Period. But all these things matter. And if you're a team leader out there and you're looking at leveling up your game as far as like content or leveling up your entire team, the fundamentals are not going to change. It's just what you're putting on there that's going to change. Like, hey, now you've got to start doing video instead of just photo.
Right.
Now you've got to start doing a podcast instead of just this. But the fundamentals on how we approach this, how we have a quality picture, a quality content, whatever it may be, like how we promote the podcast and like just different things. Like we're going about it just as intentional and professional as we do our deals.
Day after day.
This is where people fuck it up. This is where like realtor, like team leaders, they fuck it up. It's the same as like fitness, bro. You'll have a guy who's a trainer. We've talked about this before. Man, he's counting macros and he's not cutting any corners and he's fucking shredding whatever. And then he wants to build his business and he thinks it happens overnight and he's cutting corners. Right. Same thing with team leaders. It's like, hey, you're crushing deals and you've got your team, but you're kind of hitting this roof and you've got to expand and you got to start building this brand and, or taking your brand of you and your team and creating branding around it to expose your team more. And then, well, I'll just have somebody run my Instagram. Well, I can just have some, hey, so this person can upload 30 different photos for me on 30 different platforms simultaneously. And it's like, you're just going to put the same content on there. If you're hey, you're cutting corners and you're delegating
sales data.
And here's the deal, bro.
Yeah, what is it?
You can't fucking outsource a personal brand.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And if you do have someone help, they need to be a part of your brand.
Yes, it is.
And you need to be telling them everything that you're doing and why you're doing and you need to be writing the body of work on that message, or you need to be in that video. Like you need to be picking certain thumbnails. So as they grow over time, at some point, that videographer or editor is spot on.
Like an extension of you.
And Gary Vee says this. Even Gary Vee, bro, when they're about to post something, they send it to him and he writes the fucking text.
Yeah, I believe it.
Or if they have like a commercial or something where it doesn't really require text, but it's like a reel or something, they send it to him and he says yes or no. And he's like, hey man, I got like 45 fucking people in this group message. But even on the things that I don't touch as much as like my own personal written stuff, I still see it and say go.
Yep.
So like there is a way to like detach a little bit from some of your content, but it comes with time and bringing people around you and developing a cohesive unit to where that person could deliver content on social or on a platform and it speak because that person's a part of the brand.
And even then, I still think it needs to be so dialed in from you first so that you then know your level of expectation. You know what works with your audience. You know what doesn't work with your audience. And you have, but if you're looking for this generic, this sales data from Inman and blah, 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 I'm going to post this on my LinkedIn and it's going to fucking fail.
Bro,
it's bad.
There's just no shortcuts to it, right? But like, this is also like, but I'll leave you with this, everyone that's listening to this, right? Like, here's the encouraging part. This is extremely hard work. And not everyone's built for it. And if you're built for it and you're willing to commit and do it, you will separate yourself. That's the benefit. I was talking on Instagram the other day with somebody, and I posted on my story. I think it originates from like Kobe Bryant's mentality, but it's like striving for perfection, not because I expect myself to ever hit it, but it's because I know like I'm going to commit myself to that process, knowing very little or no one will commit to something that doesn't have guarantees. As in like, Will, if I could live like you, bro, I'm all in. Hey, bro. And dude, I won't say any names. I've heard people talk to me about real estate because they see where you and I are at and where we're going. And it's like, well, dude, if real estate's this fucking baller, like fucking sign me up. Hey, bro, it's not. Okay. It's not, man. Like it could be, but there's no guarantee. There's just no, but people, when they see certain things come into fruition, right? Like
now they believe. Yeah.
Now it's like, well, dude, I'm fucking all in. Like, and it's like, man, like it's got to be in you before that, right? Like, but that's what I'm getting at. Like, most people will not commit to perfection because there's not a guarantee stamped on it.
Yep.
Right? Like when people, like when they have their 9-to-5 jobs and they always call it guaranteed money. We hear people that are transitioning from 9-to-5s or whatnot, but want to jump into entrepreneurship. And it's like, yeah, I've got my guaranteed money or I've got my consistent money. And it's like, hey, it's not guaranteed. Let me, if you're out there not entrepreneuring yet, let me tell you this. You're a cop, you're a firefighter, you work for some tech company, whatever it is. Your money every 2 weeks is not guaranteed.
Not at all.
You fuck up, you say the wrong thing, you behave the wrong way, you're out of there. No one is bigger than the institution. Okay?
Yep.
So do you know what is guaranteed if you still have a great career and you're getting promoted and you're getting good money? It's you that's been doing a great job that continues to get paid.
Yep.
Your money is not safe. It's not consistent. You fucking are. So if you took those skill sets into entrepreneur world and you applied the same level of effort into that game, why wouldn't your money be just as safe, if not bigger, because of who you are? It's who you are that's not getting you fucking canned. Unless you work for the city, because city workers around here fucking, I think they get away with a lot. I don't know.
A lot of salaried employees.
Fuck, man, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, but the biggest thing, like within the real estate game, man, is like, this is like the fourth time I'm saying this now. I'll leave it with this, and then we'll get the hell out of here. There's a lot of low inventory. Realtors are not going to survive.
No, a lot of them won't.
A lot of them have already stopped trying. This is also a land grab. If you're a realtor, wherever you're at in the country, Denver right now, we're the second hottest market behind San Diego. Wherever you're at, even if you're not in the hottest market, it's hotter than it's ever been wherever you are, which means it's harder than it's ever been wherever you are. So with that being said, yep, you could lay down and go away, and a lot will not survive this. A lot don't have the resources, don't have the work ethic, don't have the people around them. But if you are committed to putting the right people around you, if you are committed to the work, if you are committed to the zig when people zag, this will be an opportunity where if you can manage yourself through this time zone right now, you will end up having a bigger network of the less volume. Does that make sense? You can end up selling more homes in a lower inventory state because of how much land grab you took,
Grabbing
because
up market
of
share.
how many other guys are deciding to tap out.
Yeah, fuck
But
yeah.
you've got to survive. You got to withstand the storm. You got to put yourself around good people, and you got to develop consistency, professionalism, tenacity, composure, and whatever you see yourself being in your future. Like, you've got to adapt to that now and put yourself around the right people, man.
Love it, bro.
Love you, bro.
Yeah, thank you.
Is it Friday?
It is Friday.
Fucking Friday.
It is Friday.
What the fuck's Friday? I got 3 more meetings today. Like,
Oh, today's fucked.
they're fun meetings.
Yeah.
We're looking at big teams that
No,
are
it's
coming
all
over to be a
good,
part
but-
of us. We're looking at
Yeah.
some managing brokers that want to come over and be a part of us. Like, super exciting stuff.
I
But
know, we're slammed.
and it's always fun to mention that, man, because we've got some other realtors that are coming on board, and it's like, hey, Will, what are you up to, man? Like, we should have a drink and celebrate
getting it,
this.
dude.
And it's like,
People
hey,
are
man,
getting it.
let's drink, let's celebrate. But
People are getting it.
I
Absolutely.
got someone after you.
Yeah.
We've got more business, but Gavin said this. I'm going to leave everyone with this.
Okay.
It's a test. If you're still listening, you know I'm going to keep talking. We were talking the other day, and he's growing, right? He's getting people into cross country and et cetera, et cetera. And I love our private conversations. And I can't remember who told it to him, but we were talking about just different levels of ambition and like where people run out of ambition or relax or kind of like take it easy. And he's like, yeah, man, you can't let the money outgrow the man. And I go, man, that sounds catchy, but like, what are you saying to me? Like, and I felt like I understood what he's saying. I just want to hear it from him. And he's like, yeah, man, it's not allowing the money to consume you or the money to change you or the money to deter you from your mission, and saying focus on your level of ambition and influence and impact with where you want to be and what you want to have. And like, I feel like we're just now getting to a point to where the money could outgrow the man, and it doesn't, and we're not. We've got some cool.
Well, the money can't be the gauge. If the money's the gauge, then there's a limit.
Yeah.
If the ambition and the impact is the gauge, there's literally no limit to it.
And dude, I know what my gauge is. It's like when we hear fucking realtors thanking us, like we got that text message a second ago just before we started this on dudes getting stacks of cash for doing deals and their YouTube's crushing. And these are introverts. This is a dude down in Florida.
Yep.
Sam?
Yep.
Isn't it Sam?
Yep. Shout out to Sam.
Dude, just more of an introvert, you know, like wasn't quite sure if it was going to work for him, but he gets after it and he's consistent and he's informative and he's fucking crushing, man.
And
like,
good quality, really good.
Dude.
He like nerds out with the computers and shit. He's super good quality with everything he does.
Super quality. And him and I have talked a couple different times. And when him and I talked late at night, he was in his car. I could barely even fucking see him. Right? Just had a second kiddo.
Yeah.
You know, and like, it was just, it's like 9:30 at night, 10 o'clock at night, so it's even later for him. He's in his car because, like, I think first kiddo was going to bed or something, but we're talking through some things, and, like, I'm a young dad. He's a young dad. It's 10 o'clock at night, and we're brainstorming. We're overcoming certain mental obstacles, and, like, now the dude's like, hey, man, just want to throw you guys a shout-out and throw you guys a thank you, and, you know, like, and he didn't do it on social media and you know, smoke our polls and shit. He wrote a fucking text message, and I think he wrote it to you, not to me, so fucker. But it's cool, and like that's my gauge. Beyond how much I talk or show you guys my home or my cars, those are fucking fun. That's just how I choose to spend my fucking time. I love it, but I also love showing people what's possible.
Yeah.
And when they're seeing me do it and they're watching me do it and they want the same things for their family, or they don't want the same thing, they just want the same level of influence in a different direction, but because that's possible for him, this is possible for me, and they get around it and they fucking win.
Yep.
Dude, that for me is like, I love the feeling of that, and I love the feeling of the fucking deal and getting negotiations appropriate to where it converts.
Oh yeah.
And it's the same thing as like getting people in their fucking mind negotiated
To get it.
and moving forward
just
to where
get
they
it.
actually convert toward their level of success that they want. It feels very reminiscent of like super hard deals we get done. And I just can't get away from that feeling, the conversion, man, the
It's
convert.
addicting, dude. Yeah.
Fuck, man.
Yeah. It's
And the money and shit's cool. I'm not going to sit here and bullshit.
Yeah.
It's cool because fucking 4 years ago,
It's cool.
you had negative money. I had negative money.
Yep.
And like now we live, I feel like we just now live to a point where we're not sweating every bill that comes in. We have money in the bank, and
But you get the amount of
gets paid.
focus that lets us.
versus
gives
like
us,
when you and I were
man.
first starting, it was like, man, am I gonna have enough closings coming up to like pay for my rent or
Sometimes no.
whatever it is? And
Yeah.
like, nope.
It's late a lot.
Yeah, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? But like now it's like we're at a point where it's like we're comfortable and we're paying our bills and we're able to, you know, put more energy and put a little bit of our finances towards some other things with branding and exposure that continues to level us up, man. And it's fun, but more than fun, more than any other word, hard or whatever other word you want to put onto it, I promise you this. It's fucking possible.
Fuck yeah.
It's fucking possible.
Fuck yeah. Great
Right on.
podcast, man.
Great podcast.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Appreciate you guys dealing with phones and mics dropping and all sorts of bullshit today.
Well,
But
good. They know what to expect. I'm going to get in your shot too here for our
100%.
outro.
Right on.
All right. Appreciate you guys listening.
Take care.
Came up from nothing, I can never take a day off.